Today's story is titled The Colton Mine Incident by Zealous Idle Dog 9656. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy. In the fall of 1986, deep within the heart of Alaska, during a routine mine operation, 22 miners would come to lose their lives under circumstances which till this day remain a mystery. The town of Colton, Alaska was a mining town with a population estimated to be around 5,000. Economically poor and undereducated, the people relied heavily upon the Colton lead mine for economic stimulation. The foreman responsible for the mine that day was a man called Roger Haug, and it is through his paperwork that we have an idea of what caused the incident. However, it should be mentioned that we still do not know all of the specifics about what happened and the events leading up to the incident. It seems that it all began with the mine workers preparing to excavate and expand the mine in order to gain better access to a particularly large vein of lead. The following is an extract from Foreman Haug's work journal, spelling mistakes and grammatical errors included.
Charges are set up along the east wall. Progress had come along fine. The men are excited. The promise of overtime has the boys in a good mood. John has been hesitant though. Says he's been hearing whispering. He's always been paranoid.
The charges were scheduled to go off that day after this entry was made into the journal. However, they were delayed for unknown reasons. This led to the detonation being rescheduled for the following day. This, however, was a Sunday, which meant that only half of the intended crew were on shift to supervise the detonation. It is unknown whether this may have had an impact on what was to come. Below is an extract from Foreman Haug's journal.
The detonators are ready. We are just waiting for the safety team to clear us for go. Taking twice as long with the skeleton crew. Men are in good spirits, and so is the mine's owner. He's gonna make a lot of money from this if this vein is as big as I'm told.
The detonation took place around 10:15 a.m. on the morning in 1986. Everything suggests that it went according to plan from a technical standpoint. The mine did not suffer any damage, and no one was harmed. However, from here on out, the tone of this operation would shift. This is reflected by not only the foreman's journal, but from interviews conducted with the wives of the miners. Extracted from an interview with the widow Margaret Wesley, the former wife of Jim Wesley.
I don't know what he saw, but he seemed more paranoid after that day. He'd been so excited about it too. He just didn't want to talk about it no more. He seemed reluctant to go back after that day. But he did, and I just...
From here, Margaret Wesley broke down crying, and thus the interview concluded. This sentiment of paranoia and unease was best reflected by the actions of two of the miners, Robert Time and Paul Smith, who would both never return to the mine after that detonation. Interestingly, only Robert was part of the skeleton crew that performed the detonation. Paul was off duty and was at home during the detonation. However, he still reported great unease and decided to not return to work. These absences were noticed by Foreman Haug. Further extracts from Haug's journal.
Detonation was a success. Vein is even bigger than expected. Just after the explosion, a gust of cold air came from the new opening. Possible passageway within the rock. Men seem uneasy. Time has actually quit on me. No 2 weeks notice or nothing. Drilling to start in the next few days.
The vein in which Foreman Haug is referring to was a lead deposit. This, as well as zinc, were the most common ores extracted from the Colton mine. Haug also mentions drilling started in the next few days. However, it was not until a whole week later that drilling would actually begin. Again, the reason for the delay is unknown. However, an interview with the town's bartender revealed some interesting details. The gust of cold air mentioned in the journal was branded as impossible by experts, as the detonation took place over 50 meters underground and exposed no passageways to the outside. After the incident, journalists interviewed the citizens of Colton about the miners. The following interviews provide context to the miners' mental state at the time. Extract from interview with Arthur Johnson, bartender.
The fellas seemed kinda reluctant about the whole drilling the new vein. They were all excited about new veins before. This time, not so much. Doesn't help that the foreman is apparently some hard-ass pencil pusher.
Nearly a week after the detonation, drilling of the vein would take place. This also coincides with multiple cases of auditory hallucinations that would plague the miners until the infamous incident. Extract from Haug's journal.
Finally got the drilling underway. Benny mentioned hearing crying from the tunnels. Progress has been good. This vein has the owners in a really good mood. Hopefully this equates to bonuses. I think it's all John. He's been talking about hearing things for weeks now. He's putting people on edge. He's probably the one who set Benny off. Probably caused Paul to abandon me. If he keeps this shit up, he's fucking gone.
This is the first extract from Foreman Haug that demonstrates signs of paranoia and potential schizophrenia. This would also coincide with a decline in the legibility of Roger's handwriting. This would unfortunately mean that some of the words in later extracts would be indecipherable. Over the next few days, we have no idea what happened in the mine. The only relevant piece of information we have is a police report from Colton Police Station. Extract from police report. Noise complaint, 3:14 a.m., Redwood Drive. Boris Watkins calls the station reporting shouting and screaming from his next-door neighbor. Officer Davis was dispatched to investigate. Upon arrival, he knocked on the door of the neighbor's house, where he was met by Harry Kinski, who claimed that he was responsible for the shouting. According to him, he had had a severe nightmare and awoke shouting. He apologized profusely to both the officer and to Boris. Naturally, all was forgiven, and the case was concluded. What was unknown to Boris and Officer Davis was that Harry Kinski was a security guard at Colton Mine. Drilling at the mine would continue successfully until the crew had extracted nearly 13 tons of lead. This increased output would be the primary subject of Haug's next entry. Extract from Foreman's journal.
112% increase in output. We were making so much from this. I fired Paranoid John. He doesn't deserve anything from this. He was a drain on us. Owner is happy with what they're going. He's planning on visiting us. Hopefully we'll have the security for him. Been seeing short in that department. Still, the drilling's been good. Though it were
unintelligible ramblings. The final sentence of this entry was completely unreadable and could not be transcribed. On September 23rd of 1986, the owner of the mine, Connor Flanagan, would visit to both inspect and congratulate the men on the increased output of the mine. When he arrived at the mine, he claims that the foreman Roger Howes was off-putting and erratic. He also noted that the men would travel in groups of 2 or more, and that the overall atmosphere in the mine was that of fear. Additional lights had been set up through the shafts and tunnels, which were seemingly unnecessary. As well as this, signs had been put up advising the miners to grow up. Nothing's watching you. This greatly unsettled Mr. Connor Flanagan, resulting in him shortening his visit. For the next 2 days, the mine would operate as usual, until at midday on September 25th, the whole mine would collapse. Without reason, almost all of the load-bearing beams within the mine would fail, leading to a devastating collapse to which there were no survivors. 22 miners would die that day, including Foreman Haugs. The cause of the collapse is still unknown. Some suggest neglect on behalf of the owner to ensure structural integrity, while others claim it was sabotage on behalf of a group of miners. What is known for certain, though, is that the miners' loss that day will never be forgotten, and that the town of Colton, Alaska, will forever bear this tragedy.